Welcome back to Open. Our last guest for today is a former city councilman of the 12th Council District, and he is the executive director of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program. He's with us to speak about the work that he's been doing in our community to uplift our young men and women and to highlight the organization's 10th anniversary. I know the guy pretty well. Let's welcome to the show Councilmember Andy King. Nice to see you again.
It's an honor and a pleasure, guys. Good
It's always wonderful to have you with us on TV. So since your time in the council, you have not stopped with the things that you are passionate about. It doesn't matter where you're doing it, you're always going to be doing this. Talk to me about what drives you to run the Youth Empowerment Program.
Well, they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So my dad was a community dad in the 70s, and the 80s, and I kind of took up that mantle. I remember the nights and afternoons where some of the young people, he had a basketball program called Kings 5 Basketball, and at any given day, there'll be some of the guys would come out of the basement, and I was like, why are they here? It's a school night. Come to find out, after he passed away, God rest his soul, they used to counsel kids in the house, because you're talking about the 70s, we didn't have a whole lot of community centers, so he used everything that was available to him to help young men get their lives, and not knowing that some of our young men that were on the team didn't have their fathers around. I'm 9, I'm 5, I don't know, but learning that, and so I've just picked up that mantle, and Christ put this on my heart, so here I am.
We both know in the past, and this is the deep past, and I'll bring up something that I always thought was completely wrong. Rudy Giuliani said midnight basketball doesn't work. That would conflict with what you're saying. You talked about a basketball program, but you had them, or your father had them in counseling and other programs. But these kinds of things really are what keep our young people, young boys and girls, off the streets and on a better path, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. And one of the things that when it's talked about service work, there's no cookie-cutter approach you can take to it. You have to do, and adults have to do what works for their children and their communities. So while some of our elected officials help with the funding or sometimes get it right, sometimes they don't get it wrong if they have not done the groundwork themselves and is a part of their makeup. So they can't tell you. It's like if you haven't gone through anything, you can't talk about anything. So if you never played basketball, how all of a sudden you become the greatest coach? You got to be on the court sometime or another.
Yeah, but the main thing is it brings the young people together in a structured thing.
Yes.
Even in a competitive thing. Of course, athletics, we know the value of that. Talked about the Youth Empowerment Program and what kinds of things you put in there that help young people do better.
Well, let's kick it off. I want to thank you all again for recognizing us. And actually, it's our 20th year.
Oh, 20th year. Oh, yeah. I had it written down.
Yes,
10.
yes, yes. It's our 20th year. We started back in 2005. I was the head lead for Fernando Ferrer, who was running for mayor. And we know at that time, Michael Bloomberg became the mayor.
Right.
But I had all these kids, about 60 kids, that used to come after school. And we used to march around with Fernando Ferrer. He's like the Piper.
That's a fascinating thing. So it really started out of that to get them together. So
yes. And so when he lost, the kids were like, what do we do now, Mr. King? That was born the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program to keep kids civically active, community-minded, and more importantly, to develop themselves to be better human beings.
And so what do? Do you have meetings? You have
yes.
programs? I mean, so let's get some of the specifics.
Great.
We've shown some of the pictures, which are, of course, incredibly impressive.
Yeah, so we have weekly sessions, and we started at the Richard R. Green Middle School campus. Weekly sessions with students from the ages 11, and now we're at 10 years age. We started from 11 to 18, then we started from 11 to 21, then we went from 11 to 18. Now we're from 10 to 18 with weekly sessions with students. We're in the Richard R. Green campus and PS 78 elementary school as well. We've been in MS 181 in the Truman Educational Campus, also in the Evander Childs High School campus. We've provided services over the last 2 decades. The goal is to help our young people build their minds, build their community, build their body, and build their community all in one. So we've done a lot of work with them. I introduce them to people, places, and things, counseling sessions, including the parents involved, and because programs I find the best programs to work when parents are engaged. When a parent supports a program, the kid supports the program. When the kid tells the parent the program is important to them, then the parents have to listen. They just can't pull them out because of adult things. So we've been able to take them on trips, have them organize their own events, visit senior centers and nursing homes to help them build character, take them out to trips to radio stations, to Washington, D.C.
TV stations?
Yeah. We've helped them lobby on elected officials on a children's health care plan.
So they're civically engaged?
Yes, yes.
You know, you will recall, I mentioned this to you when you came through the door. We did a session on my other program, Bronx Talk, where we brought the young men and women from Truman High School to ask you questions. So you've been doing this. This is in your DNA, so to speak.
Correct.
How do you measure success? How do you know that it's working? Do you see the results of it? Like you may, and I'm just going to give an example, but you can fill in the blanks. Somebody comes in and you know that they've had trouble. They've been whether through the legal system or their school is saying, you know, they're not even attending. You know, those kinds of things. And then you see, do you see results of those kinds of things through this kind of engagement?
Yes, we've seen a lot of success. And what I mean by that, if we've touched maybe about 12,000 kids over these 20 years, I can
12,000?
Yeah, over. And we're talking over 20 years.
I got to interject. I'm going to let you finish.
Yeah.
And I say this every time people throw out numbers. 12,000, you say, well, you know, I don't know how to characterize it. Start with your fingers and get to 12,000, and then you'll have a sense of how many we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, over 20. We've had kids coming from Brooklyn at one time in our early years, getting on the train and coming to the Bronx. So when I talked to some of the earlier students that were part of it, they're principals. They are CEOs of their own company, work for Cablevision. Someone works for the mayor's office. They're teachers themselves. So I've watched them become successful.
I just can't smile wide enough. You know, we wrestle and we talk about the crime numbers and people read these terrible stories in the newspapers. There are solutions. There are ways we can do this. Do you think about growing the program? I'm sure there's ways you'd love to grow it. Is it a financial thing? I mean, I want to share this. I want to, make the 12,000, 40,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, one of the things that I realize sometimes more money doesn't mean more success. And while we need money to function, I think when you have a formula full of love, full of commitment, and adults around being a part of the village of a child, we've watched the manners and etiquette of our children change. We watched the mindset of what they view on whether it's TikTok, I call it TikTok, trick truck, that they get knocked upside the head with information that they get fed. How do we put them back in a place to understand that these messaging aren't the stabilized messaging that you need to build your character? There's a lot of drama in it, but not a stability in it. So we have real conversations of what the world is, so they make the right decisions. So we watch so many children, and I can literally say out of those 12, we've had about 4 kids who've actually gone on the wrong side, and that's a great percentage to have that I can say, man, I can go off my head and say it's only about 4. I can't
4 children out of the 12,000.
Yeah, that just went off the cuff. But when we grabbed them at 13 and 11, they were figuring out life, changes of what coming through puberty and what that all means for you. Well, if no one tells you those speed bumps in life, you can make a lot of errors at 14 because you don't know. So it's up to those adults who do know to help our kids say, I told you the fire was hot. You didn't have to stick your hand in the fire to find out, oh, yeah, it's hot. We told you it was hot.
Surprise. You've been doing this, obviously, for a long time. I made a mistake. It was not 10. It's 20 years. That period of time includes the pandemic. Now, I'm always very concerned when I talk to youth leaders and other people. The kids sat in front of screens for 2 years looking at computers instead of interacting with their school, with their teachers, with each other. Do you sense a difference in the young people before the pandemic and then after the pandemic, coming out of a period of time where it doesn't matter what age they were denied because of circumstance, the opportunity to lead kind of normal, interactive social lives.
You hit that right on the head. And I've had these conversations with superintendents, New York City Public School superintendents, principals, educators, and helping to remind them right after we came out of the pandemic that you now you have a 14-year-old, technically still 12 years old.
Socially
You have
is 12 years old. That's right.
And you have
I
a
agree with you
/16-year-old who's 14. And what was happening is that the educators weren't prepared for that. At a middle school, you're looking to have that 13-year-old to be 13, but actually still acting like they're in elementary school. So if I'm used to teaching a child who's supposed to be at this emotional level and academic level, I wasn't getting that. So I was having conversations with them. Some of the principals like, you're right, King, but we haven't figured that one out. Because even some of the educators, when they were on remote, how effective were they in remote learning themselves?
Right. And so if they come in, let's say, 7th grade or 8th grade, and you're expecting them to have something, they may have had 2 years of
not getting
half the education.
Yeah.
And that becomes a challenge. Did you do anything else other than just keep working hard, or did you put things in place to try and support this?
Well, what we did from the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, me and my wife did something that I know some people thought we were crazy, but we took the bottom half of a home that we have and we turned it into the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program's clubhouse because the schools were closed. The students still needed some place to go, try to figure themselves out. So we'll have counseling sessions there, talk about what was going on in the world, gave them some game nights, counsel them, even put a little outdoor pool so they can play and splash, but allow them to still have teen years, still have children's life, and we was able to do that. And those children have adjusted a little faster than some of the other children I come in contact with.
We're almost out of time. 20th anniversary, we're having a celebration?
Yes, we are April 4th at the Richard R. Green School campus where we started at 3710 Barnes Avenue in the Bronx. We're having our youth speaks, our annual youth speaks. There'll be a forum of kids addressing the adult panel of New York City Public School, FDNY, NYPD. We got the hip-hop community. We got 2 artists coming to perform. I can't tell nobody, but they're going to come perform for the kids.
Oh, come on, tell us.
As you can see, there's going to be a great day of fun, joy, love as we celebrate the work and love that we've put in, that my wife and I formed this group 20 years ago.
Beginning about 10 a.m. and then people can come in.
Your doors open at 10. We're starting at 10:30 sharp because students need to be back in the schools by 1:30 for lunch and dismissal.
That's a Friday.
Yeah, it's a Friday, yeah.
Right. So. Okay, well, listen, this just sounds so exciting. You're not going to stop. Doesn't matter what happens. 10 years from now, if I'm still here, you'll be coming in here saying it's the 30th anniversary, right? That's what you're going to do.
God is good.
That's what you're doing. Listen, council member, it's funny, I'm so used to calling him council member, former council member Andy King. Thank you so much for what you're doing for our kids. We just can't get enough of it.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you for being with us. Thank you so much.
God bless.